All right, we are live. Let me do some camera adjustment here right quick so I don't have to do this later. Looks level enough to me, I think. Hold on just a second. There we go. All right. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight. We're live with the Common Grounds podcast. Uh, we will be talking to Josh Schmitt from Banyan Coffee Company tonight. He's sitting outside in the Florida heat, joining us from his special little Cushman coffee truck. So, without further ado, I'm going to roll our intro music and get this show started. All right, well, I'm going to start that intro all over again since I was on mute. So hopefully everybody out there watching right now can already hear me since I did that little intro muted. I apologize for that. So tonight we're going to be talking to Josh Schmitt from Banyan Coffee Company. He's joining us live from Florida. He's hanging out in his little 1980 model Cushman coffee truck that he's got all fixed up for Banyan Coffee. So we're just going to go ahead and bring him live into the stream right now.
Okay.
Hey, Josh.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good.
Thanks for braving the mosquitoes and the heat out down there in Florida.
Yeah, they like when you're really pale. I don't really tan well here, so no, it doesn't. Right now they're actually pretty good. It's been raining like all day, so they're due. It's prime pickings for them right now. So
where are you located at in Florida?
We're in Bradenton, Florida. It's just south of Tampa.
Okay.
South of Tampa. So, we're below Orlando area there, but we're on the Gulf Coast.
Awesome.
So right by Tampa. I mean, so that's our closest major city. Sarasota kind of overshadows us too.
So tell the folks. I told them just a little bit about Banyan, as in like the name when we jumped on here. So tell us a little bit about your coffee company and how you got into small batch coffee roasting.
So, how we started, I mean, it is me and my wife, Abby Schmitt. She's inside probably handling the kids right now. So I was on, daddy duty earlier. So I could do this. So anyways, it's her also. So it's not just me. She is probably, I think she's more important than I am. I got the easy job. I do the roasting. She does pretty much everything. I don't say everything else, but she does quite a bit. So I got to give her that recognition. She's, so anyways, how I got into coffee, let's see. I started probably drinking coffee in college, I want to say. And I think that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of normal from most of the folks I've talked to. I think you need that extra kick for studies. I was in ground school for aviation. I was a pilot. And there wasn't really much options to, I was a night class. So I never had, coffee until then. And first try of it, I didn't like it, but you know what? I did reap in the benefits of it. So keep me awake. So that's kind of how I first started. So it was nothing. That was a Folgers by all means.
Yeah.
But let's see. Then college, you just don't have any standards, I guess. Didn't really have a whole lot to spend on quality coffee, and I didn't really think of that at the time anyways. So I probably started getting into like specialty coffee. I got to give a lot of probably recognition to like Tom at Sweet Maria's. He got me hooked on it, just watching a couple of his videos. And from there, I just wanted something fresh coffee. And then once you had that opportunity to have it, it was like, it's kind of it's a double-edged sword kind of. You wanted to have fresh coffee, but you would be willing to take your coffee or someone else's fresh coffee with you wherever you go. So you have these problems that if you take a trip, it's like, okay, first things, what am I taking for coffee wise? And am I thinking my pour over travel? A lot of times you don't even think about it. You just drink the hotel coffee or whatever it is. And for me, that was a problem. So, anyways, I'll start drifting off down other things. So keep me on path.
No, you're good. You're good. No, it's a funny thing that you said, the going out and traveling and not having good coffee at hotels, because that's a very common issue. And I did not, before I got into it, I didn't realize how many people travel with coffee equipment, like the AeroPressers Facebook group. Of course, it's AeroPressers, but there's so many of them that talk about the different ways they travel with their AeroPress. And, like, what is the customs, or not the customs guy, what does the guy at the airport think when TSA, when they look in your bag and they're like, well, what's this? Oh, that's to make coffee.
Well, a lot of times where I'm traveling too, it's either friends or family, and they're always telling me to bring coffee with them. So I usually, with the kids and stuff, I mean, we each have a backpack, but there's one backpack filled with coffee. I mean, it's probably 10, 15 pounds, whatever you could fit in there. It's coming up. And yeah, so that's another problem. So I always make sure
people following you around whenever you're walking around smelling like coffee. Is that an
issue? I mean, or if I'm at the post office doing, shipments, the lady the other day, actually, she's like, gosh, that smells good. That was like 2 weeks ago. So I brought her some coffee just for her to have, because she kept wanting to smell the coffee. I was like, here, this one will last a couple of weeks for smells. Yeah. It's kind of like Jimmy John's. You get free smells out of the deal.
Yeah, definitely. I gave my mailman a bag of coffee probably 2 months ago, because I knew I had 2 bags in the shipment that he got. And he's like, hey man, I know it. I know when your packages are in the box, because I get coffee probably two times a week, And I know when your package is in the box, Mr. Greenfield, because it always smells so good. I was like, well, let me hand that over, here you go, take this bag. And I told them the story about Fuzzy Monkey, one of our other roasters. And it's a really neat thing to be able to connect with people. And do you find that coffee starts the connection process a lot of times?
Very much so. I mean, piggybacking on what you just said with the postal guy. I mean, our guy, I'll sometimes have a cup ready for him on occasion, because it looks like he's just struggling, especially here in Florida. This time of the year is kind of like our winter, I call it. You just hide inside if you can, unless you get a pool or something. But you can see if he's hot. He's like, hey, you want cold brew? And he's like, oh yeah, because he knows what we do. So, because he sees the mail and everything too. So, coffee, roasted coffee has its perks. It's amazing on some. I like to also do the horse trading deal with some of my other, like we do a farmer's market. So a lot of us do a lot of horse trading, veggies for some coffee or popcorn, whatever it is. So it does have some perks to it. And connecting people, that's a whole nother thing. That's kind of one of the reasons why we got into coffee ourselves, me and my wife. I think coffee in general is a very, unless you just don't like coffee, I get it, or you're a tea person, whatever. But I think it's a great way to connect. I mean, politicians have sat down, didn't see nothing clear, to connect together or see eye to eye or nothing, but they sat down and had a cup of coffee, and I think coffee is a very innocent thing. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoy it, because I can have a conversation with, maybe it's a relative you don't get along with, but you can have a cup of coffee. It's a very innocent thing. So that's why I really enjoy it. Go ahead, sir.
It's kind of, I like exploring this. I love exploring the connection that comes with coffee. And then that's really one reason I started this whole, the podcast and the company was to connect with roasters and other people. And coffee is one of those things that you look at places and you say, oh, that'd be a nice place to go have a cup of coffee. you're driving around and you're like, I'd like to go have a cup of coffee there, or you read a book. I guess reading a book and a cup of coffee is about the same thing when you go look at places. And I say that because when my wife was redoing our little breakfast area downstairs, we've got this joke when we drive by this park. I said, well, that'll be a nice place to have a cup of coffee. And my wife just looks at me like I'm crazy. She was talking about the park, and I was talking about the breakfast nook. Like it's a good place to have a cup of coffee. But it's such a nice thing to be able to connect with people over. And you're right, it is a neutral ground. It's a common ground almost.
Yeah, common ground. There you go.
There you go.
Nailed it.
When did you start roasting?
Well, kind of like what I was saying before with Tom and Sweet Maria's. I think All Grab did the same thing too with popcorn poppers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very common way to start, and I think that's the gateway drug. And that started for about 6 years. I want to say about 6 years. I was just doing it as a hobby. Skeeters are coming at me now, but that's okay. I'm going to fight through it. But yeah, so I started probably doing that for about 6 years, 7 years of just, I started out in my garage roasting. I would literally go to thrift stores to find popcorn poppers, and I probably had about 30 of them, just in case one would break down or something, or I had a friend that would want it, like, hey, I had that coffee, it's good. Here, do it yourself, kind of, like, because I can't do it for everybody, but there was times where I was doing 4 of them at a time, and then I would, give them away as friends or family. So I started that way, and then it just got to the point where it was too much and I couldn't keep up. So I bought, it was weird, at Sweet Maria's, they have this thing called the Bullet.
Yeah.
You might have heard of that. It's a very popular, it's getting really popular. It's been around for actually quite a bit. So I was fortunate enough to get one, because I was debating on that and a couple other entry ones. And I was just going to do it as a, just continue as a hobby, friends and family. And I was like, well, I'll do the local farmers market here. And I didn't realize, how much it was a demand for. So I kind of got, pulled into that. And after hearing about that, that's kind of how we have a company in Tampa called Brew, and that's kind of how they started. And, they were just passing out to friends and family, especially during, the Christmas time, holidays, and just giving it away. And for that, after doing the farmers market, I was like, well, I guess this is gonna, this thing will pay off itself right away. So until I got approached by a gentleman that wanted, 15 pounds at a time. And I was like, it was kind of like a Jaws moment where the captain's like, we're going to need a bigger boat. So I was like, well, let me just, see what's out there, and for me, I was only in business for 2 years, so, I mean, it wasn't really, I was kind of self-taught. I learned a lot from Tom and actually Scott Rayo. He's probably I would say he's kind of one of the godfathers of all this stuff. He's he's very innovative in his techniques. Getting to his level is a challenge. And after I did a couple of his courses, but just so much insightful information compared to what we have for technology today, as opposed to, even 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So it's very interesting, and that's what's great about coffee. I think most people, especially here in Bradenton, Sarasota area, they just think of coffee as Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, and that's kind of the atmosphere here. So that's kind of why I actually just kind of branching out into it. I felt like there was a need for it here, and it's. I mean, it's been taken off for us. I mean, I started as a hobby, and then going into a business, and within probably a year of just doing it as like a part-time little gig, I'm doing it full time now. And I'm trying to pull my wife into it completely full time. So she's been helping me part time, but she's got her other stuff she's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
When so are you still roasting? I got a couple questions from that, from everything you just said. So
I jump
first
around,
question,
so I'm sorry.
are you still roasting on the bullet, or what are you roasting
No,
on now?
no, I don't roast on the bullet anymore. I do that as my sample. Primarily, that's more of a sample. I use it as a backup too. After listening to Scott, I mean, that's actually the problem with that is it's not sufficient enough, because that's only it only does about 2 pounds at a time,
Right,
and
right.
I don't want to push it to 2 pounds if I don't have to. So you do like a pound at a time, and I'm like, that's like to get you out of like a quick little problem. But if you got a whole bunch of orders in, you're just not going to be able to do that.
Yeah,
So
you're going to be roasting all day on that thing.
yeah, and I was doing that with the market and all this other, like that was even before I was getting into like locations and stuff. Like I'd come home from work, and I was doing like the consignment or and everything. So, or I'm sorry, the cottage foods and everything. So I was roasting and not even doing that at the time. I was doing 6 hours, easily. No, not 6 hours. I'm sorry. I take that back. 4 hours a night. I was like, this is just not going to make it. And then you finally have a couple people asking for, bigger orders of, 15-pound orders at a time, by the next day or so. And it's like, well, something's got to change. So you kind of just roll with, the punches, I guess, and adapt. If you don't adapt, you're going to get left behind. Somebody will find somebody else, and I still try to hold the standard of stuff. We only use specialty coffee. I only want to do single origins unless it's espresso. I've been really, I do a couple K-cups. I don't like to talk about that. That's kind of like my skeletons in my closet, So
But they sell. That's the bad thing about the skeletons.
They do. And what I do primarily for my K-cups is if somebody orders it, then I prepare it for just that order. It's not, and that's the hard part because, I strive for, and that's what, when I first started was fresh coffee, and that's what I live by. And, we live and die by that, I believe. And if there's a way to do that, and I know it's going to get consumed. So like a lot of the customers that we use for the K-cups, they're going to consume it within a couple weeks, even though to me, the process is breaking down, immediately that, they always say when you grind for the day, and that's how you're supposed to, but they're happy with it. So, but it's not what I would do.
When you're talking about, so what are you roasting on now?
Right now, I'm just using a BC roaster. It was more of a what do you want to call it? More of like a budget friendly one, because I knew at the time I needed something and I needed something soon. And I'm for what it does. I mean, you can get into the higher end ones. I've been actually kind of ever since now with this whole pandemic starting, I was actually looking to upgrade. And everything, but I was telling myself, like I mean, because some of these machines, they're depending on if you get, a 25 kilogram or what. I mean, you're 60 to 100,000 in the hole.
Yeah.
So I myself, I've been always a big believer not having, any kind of debt. I don't want to have any kind of loans on a machine, and then you're more worried about it. So I always believed in, pay as you go. Have it pay for itself, then move on if you can. So then you don't have any, overhead, in my opinion.
Right,
so,
right. No, it's definitely a good way to be able to go in and everything that we did for Roasters Marketplace when we launched. I didn't borrow any money. Everything's been paid for, and it's been nice knowing that. Like July's been killing me. It's just like, come on. I know it's hot, but you still drink coffee. You can order coffee.
Cold brew works good.
Cold brew, right? Cold brew. Everybody's talking about cold brew.
And it's not, I'm not a fan of it. I will enjoy it on a hot day. and I need it more in the afternoon and it's really hot out, I'll do it. My wife's more big on the cold brew. That's actually her department. I kind of like let her run with it, and that's her thing. I just primarily, I'm the boring guy. I roast the beans, and that's not it. It's weird. To me, there's a lot more to than just roasting. There's a lot of, just prepping, and then, at post roast, you got orders to fill, deliver, and, the shipping actually is the easiest part, so, the mailman shows up at your door.
You delivered in the truck locally?
No, I will on occasion, but a lot of like neighbors or something, if they're nearby, I'll do it just for fun. I like to get this thing out, driven. Actually, I probably should show it to you before
let's see the truck.
So, is there a way to switch? I don't know if I could flip this or not. Maybe
I don't know if you can or not.
Okay, that's all right. I'll just do my best. So, So this is the cart right here. I'll try to step back out of the thing. So, it's an 84 Cushman. I'm trying to do the best shot because
you're good. This is the first live truck tour, coffee truck tour on the Common Ground podcast. So this is awesome.
And these come out. So these pivot up and everything. All my storage is down below. These actually pop out. Just to give you an idea. So it's not the fastest, but it's electric. It works great and we do this for the farmers market, a lot of like pop-up events and weddings. So this is kind of our way to reach people, I guess, because that was one reason why we got into coffee, is being able to, especially like we're more of a local brand, and that's kind of what we want to do, is focus on Bradenton, Sarasota area and reach people that way, because to me I think there's a need for it here, and I think there's a need for it everywhere. So if we could get more roasters in every town, I think it will bring more recognition to the small batch roasters in general. So I think it's the noise it makes. Let me get the inside though.
You're good.
So it's a little dark. Actually, I could probably kick this out a little bit, give you some more visibility. I don't know if you could see that or not. I'm sorry if it's.
Oh no, you're good, dude.
It's starting to get a little darker. So this is our cold brew tap right here. This is our storage. So we keep our ice in there, our merchandise there. I don't have any of the brewers or anything. I don't want to keep that out or anything. So.
That's awesome.
But yeah, here's the back of it. Just give you a little kind of rundown of it all. So it was rescued. I like to say it used hot dog cart.
It was used hot dog.
You losing me?
Yeah, just for a little bit.
Yeah, it used to be a hot dog cart, and we rescued it.
That's awesome.
So, but
so tell me.
I'm just putting it down.
We'll talk a little bit about what you just mentioned, and it's something that I've spoke with a couple roasters about before, about dominating your local area in the market. So we're going to kind of turn over to like the small business aspect of the show here. Get away from coffee roasting a little bit, but like to have a web presence, to have like a legitimate hardcore national web presence takes thousands of dollars worth of marketing. I mean, it does. And what you can turn around and do locally for the same investment, whether it be time or money, is a whole different approach, to where you can legitimately have everybody in your town drinking your coffee.
Yeah. No, that's the challenge, especially where I'm at. Actually, I could probably scoot this sucker inside. The nice thing about this thing is it actually, you could push it and everything, and it's actually pretty good. So get its initial movement going. I get a little bit more light. So, anyways, I'm sorry.
You're
Yeah,
good.
but like you said, getting back into like the local market and everything, it has its challenges, especially here because of the most people are used to like Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. Florida's kind of like what you call like people just bring what they brought, so you'll have different. It's a very commercialized area, and I think also people are kind of afraid to try something different, and that's why Starbucks is so successful. Nothing
Mhm.
against Starbucks, but they've obviously mastered something, and that's called consistency. You're expecting something, and you're going to get it regardless, and that's something they've mastered. But if you're willing to risk, um, just take I'm an adventurous person when it comes to like coffee, so I take a lot of that back. Before I had a hard time trying other people, bringing my coffee. Where am I going to have it? But now I actually like to contact other people and try their coffee. And you can experience it, and maybe it's something you like enough that you might even try to find that coffee that you've
Something
experienced. So
that's one of the funnest things about kind of being in my role is the I did a live cupping earlier today with Novus Coffee Imports. I
yeah,
tasted 5 coffees that have been imported into the country that from all little single micro lot farms in
yeah,
Honduras. I would have never thought about doing that a year ago. That's something like I didn't even know existed
yeah.
at that point. But what would you say to the coffee roaster that is transitioning from that popcorn popper to the next level? And what did you find the success? What did you use to become successful at that transition between hobby and I wouldn't even call it hobby and craft? So
Yeah.
kind of right there at that transition level, what would you recommend a small batch roaster to look at?
I mean, you got to look at your costs, but also cost, but you're not jeopardizing your product either. So that doesn't mean go out and get some, cheap beans or anything either. But I would also, I take the principle of what Scott Rayo would say is, when you go to upgrade, try to go up three different sizes up if you could. I kind of made that mistake. I went 2 sizes up. But at the end of the day, I didn't know where I was going to be at. I was relatively new. So I would start with something. I mean, honestly, the bullet was a good starting point if you're just doing like a locals farmers market. You could even, there actually talks about bringing out one a little bit bigger than the bullet. I think it's called a bullseye. So that's going to be something to look at. I probably wouldn't use it myself as a sample roaster, but I mean, back then I would have went with that one, just because you get a little bit more. You can take a little bit more of a capacity if you're first starting out. And I had a I have a buddy that he bought, I think, a Diedrich, and it was like a 12, and he went up real big, but I think he was actually looking to upgrade. So he went to go try selling it, but he had a hard time selling it. But I mean, Diedrich's a lot more expensive roaster, and again, it's probably a lot better built machine. Probably lasts a lot longer. But for me, it's like I look at it as I'm planning on upgrading anyways. So this would be just a good backup. I'm always looking at like what's going to be a good backup if I get into trouble with my
Yeah.
primary roaster. But I don't want to have that because of I'm not going to pick like a particular brand manufacturer, but I have been leaning towards a couple of them, but I'm trying to stay more of something maybe more American made because something breaks down. Can I get parts? It's the most important thing because everything breaks down. So that's one thing I've been looking for as my next roaster. And I'm going to take my time on that one this time. So I I don't have any kind of setbacks. So just, I guess for the folks starting out roasting is, just be patient, especially if you're new into the market. Be persistent and just, be patient, because when you first bring a product to somebody, they don't know who you are, first of all, because if you're new to the business, why is somebody going to all of a sudden, hey, I want to go with your coffee all of a sudden? Who are you, by the way? And if the customer's not, if customers are complaining about the product, even if they're getting Folgers or something, they're not complaining. Why would they want to switch? So you got to look at it as a business mindset too, of getting inside their head of like thinking like, why do I want to go with you instead of, a typical, if you want to call it a Cisco or whoever. So you got to get in the mindset of them in a business sense. So if you could think like that, I think that'll make you more successful that way.
It's always a challenge when you're looking at breaking into new markets on, the education level. You first, you've got to educate the customer on who you are. You've got to introduce yourself. Then the next level of that is, then you've got to kind of introduce your product and build trust in your brand. And then you go to sell. I mean, it's three. Yeah. You can't just jump on and be like, hey, buy my coffee. Nobody's gonna,
exactly. You're not going to win somebody's heart over the first day, unless they're absolutely, hey, I've been waiting for some good coffee. Mm-hmm. It's not rare, but it does happen. But yeah, again, you got to earn trust in your, either a potential customer. I usually just, I don't know if I'm just more generous. I just hand out coffee. What's it hurt for me to give somebody a coffee? Another playbook that I've used, also some folks probably have heard of, is Dutch Brothers. Now, they're not known for like excellent quality coffee, but I believe in an experience. To me, and that's how I got into coffee. There was this place out in Oregon. I actually started out in Oregon. That was when I first started roasting, was in Oregon. And I went to this place. It was Sisters Coffee out it's in Sisters near Bend, Oregon. And the experience I had out there was like, wow, this is awesome. And their coffee, don't get me wrong, is really good coffee, but you could bypass that qualityness of the coffee and just enjoy the experience, and you'll buy their coffee because of that experience. And that I think is an important thing, is to give. For me, it's customer service. If an order comes in, I always try to get it fulfilled within 48 hours. I don't want to roast every day, but if I have to, I will do it just to make that customer happy. So I believe in customer service as probably the priority thing, but having a heart and compassion towards them too. By, if somebody's not having that's kind of like the Dutch Brothers mindset. It's like someone's not having a good day. Hey, here's a free bag of coffee, or here's that. What they would do is give you a free coffee. So I think the little things and just helping out people is so important, instead of just trying to make a sale. I'm not a salesman. I tell this to every customer. I'm not a salesman by any means. The coffee will speak for itself, and that's it. If you like it, you'll call me back. And that's it, and I don't know what else to say about that. There's no secret to, I guess, there's no secret to it when it comes to getting somebody to buy coffee.
I had some of your Guatemalan a couple weeks ago in our monthly subscription, or not our monthly subscription, or one of our weekly subscriptions, and phenomenal Guatemalan coffee, phenomenal Guatemalan coffee. You're welcome. Very, very good. From the second, from the second you opened the bag, you knew it was going to be awesome. Just the way it smelled, the aroma, the beans were all, a good uniform color. There wasn't any craziness going on. And that comes down to, the attention to detail you have on the roast, as you roast it, and where you source it from. So that's my lead in to how do you source your coffee beans?
Well, usually I've actually lately been kind of making some changes. Not changes like I'm not happy with it. I've been trying to branch out because one of my one of my big goals is to source from a farmer directly. That's like a long-term goal. And how can I go about doing that? So I've started with using like a couple different providers of importers, like Royal New York, but I'm also Alley out in Charleston. So there's quite a few of them out there to you can try. I sample them. I really like the Guatemalan. It's crazy though because that's like one of my bigger, more popular ones, and I'm kind of tired of it. I'm like again, I'm a coffee seeker, so I'm always trying to find another one. And like right now, my kick is some of the natural process, more fruity, sweet, juicy, juicy fruit.
Yeah.
I've been feeling those now, so I don't know. Maybe I'll go to like maybe a dark roast at some point. I don't know, but I with those type of when it comes to sourcing, I'm always just trying to keep something different every time. Like, and I think that's in anything you do, like, and that's in life or whatever it is. Just try to change it up, because you can get stuck in the rut of things. And if you could change your roast, that's why I try to bring in a new coffee I was going to try doing one once a month, but the problem is, especially where we're at, folks are like, I brought one coffee in and I can't shake it because they want it. So now I have to have it, so I'll end up doing that. So sometimes you can't get that one in because it's a micro lot. And micro lots, a lot of times they only had 10 bags for that season. I tell everybody, especially, my wholesale folks, this is a commodity, and I grew up in, north in the north where there's corn. And some years it's a little different in taste. So you can't, you have to let them know that the every year it's going to be different, but the key is that they're aware of it and you try to get something close. That's why the challenge with single origin coffee is you're not blending it, so you can't try to keep the consistency, but you are, because you're sampling other coffees. So if it's like Guatemalan, you're always looking for the next harvest season and sampling those to see what you had from last time, or vice versa if there's a fly crop too. So you're always trying to test different products, so then you keep consistency, but also test new products so you can get something that's a little different. So
on that availability, I was talking to one of our producers, Chickabean. They're one of our roasters and on Roasters Marketplace, and they also raise. I mean, they're in Guatemala, and we were talking about we were price quoting some stuff out, and she's like, "Well, we're getting low on the honey price." I was like, "Okay, we'll raise the price." I mean, let's do it. I mean, that's the commodity level of it that we've got to start looking at on the sustainability of the stuff. That if there's 40 bags of it, we've got to be able to educate everybody in that chain down to the consumer. Okay, hey, you're going to pay more for this coffee because it cost me more. Well, why does that bag cost $18? Well, because I paid $7 a pound for it. It's like, there's got to be that education, because if I look back on it at my point a year and a half ago, before I really got into coffee, I had no clue on the fluctuation of prices due to the availability of coffee, due to the rain, due to the cycles of the sun, even, and if the more people that are educated on coffee, and that's one reason we do this show, the more likely we are to able to get that final price to everybody in that chain, because sustainability means something to me, means something to you, and it means something to the farmer. Everybody's got to benefit from it at some point, but we've got to be able to charge that price for the quality of coffee that we're providing. It's kind of like if you go back 15, 20 years into craft beer, people will look at you crazy that you would sell a pint of beer for 12 or 14 bucks.
Yeah.
And now that's kind of common. If you're into the craft beer, well, they only made 30 gallons of it. So it's $100 bottle. Okay. Well, this is the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of those are the limited releases, and and coffee's doing the same thing. We've just bought a Guatemalan, it's a San Sebastian, Pacamara bean. And I had it, before, and I was like, man, this is just top of the line stuff I've ever, one of the best I've ever had. I was like, I gotta find this farmer. And he's like, well, you got to order 50 bags of this. And I'm like, 50 bags? Are you kidding me? I might be lucky to go through 50 bags a year, maybe. So I'm like, oh no, you're good. You're good.
You need a flashlight. Okay, hang on just a second, Josh.
No, you're fine. I understand. Mine's probably moving around up there.
It's not a flashlight. I don't have a flashlight. Here, come on. You fixed it. Come on. Let's go find the flashlight. Come on. Where's your flashlight?
I might need a flashlight out here. Let's get darker.
Okay, I'll get you more batteries, okay? Sorry about that.
No. If I was inside right now, it'd be the same story.
They always get me, But I had it was so funny. I had a meeting the other day with basically like a LinkedIn coach on how to build your LinkedIn channels. And I was talking to her, and the 3-year-old came in, or the 2.5-year-old came in, opened my door, and she goes, "Daddy, I love you." And I mean, the lady on the other end of the Zoom meeting almost started crying. She's like, "Well, that's just the sweetest thing I've ever seen." And she's like, "You've got to bottle that and sell it, because that's the connection that you want with your customers is, okay, hey, Chris is a family guy. The kids come in the live stream." And that's part of the whole marketing process in some things. But it's, I love the fact that the picture, I chopped your family out for the promo, but you go on your website and it's you, your wife, and your 2 kids. So tell us a little bit about your family while we're on that subject. So if you want to.
No, I'm fine with it. I'm very comfortable with it. No, my wife, like I said at the beginning, she's probably, I think she's more important than I am in this. I primarily do the roasting, and I say administrative stuff, but she's really the hard worker when it comes to everything. But the other two, that's a different story. They make more problems, but that's what kids are. So I think you just got to sometimes just laugh at it. At times that can be a challenge, but I think also you get your payback as a kid too, what you did to your parents.
Oh, so I really hope not.
I'm learning that right now.
I really hope not. I wasn't that bad, but my wife is a handful, and was a handful to her parents after she became a teenager. So I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, teenagers is different. I think you're gonna. We got one that's 4 and the other one's 2, and for me it's like, I'm fortunate enough where I don't have a typical 9 to 5. I can go and roast. I try to roast, more in the morning anyways, just get out of the way. But if I want to spend time with the kids, I have that option now.
Yeah.
So it has given me that luxury of family. And though sometimes you get, and this is learning as an experience with, starting this business, is you can get so sucked into the business life of it. And I've fallen down that several times. And at the end of the day, though, your kids are going to keep growing, and you can't stop that. People are always going to need coffee. When did they stop, drinking coffee? So you have to have the mindset, your kids are always going to keep growing. So don't miss those opportunities. Like I see, my kid, he's going to be in school. I mean, I think we're going to start school, but
Yeah, that's all.
he's going to be going into kindergarten at some point. And I'm like, that's the next step of almost graduating to out of the house, already, like that's the first step.
There's a few more stages in there, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's
the first step.
Yeah.
And I'm, to me, it's like cherish these moments now, and enjoy those times, because you can't go back. So unless you have more kids, but I don't want to have kids when I'm 70,
No.
And that's
I hit 40 next year, and I'm hurting. And I had a rough 20s and part of my 30s in the military, and then now doing this and running around the babies, and it's rough. So how have y'all adapted? We'll switch back to business a little bit here. How have y'all adapted to the coronavirus, and how has that affected your business?
A lot of some of our wholesalers haven't opened up yet, so we're waiting for them to open back up. So obviously that's just I don't say non-existent, it's just paused. They're healthy companies anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. And but it was weird because my wife and I, and that goes back to our business model. We wanted to reach people. So how is it we can reach people to get coffee in their house easy? They don't have to think about it. So we've always done a subscription prior to all this. We did an online thing. But we also, here in Bradenton, Sarasota area, we also do free delivery. So we didn't charge anything for our deliveries. So before, this whole pandemic, that was kind of our business model. So we really didn't have to adapt too much. We just had to adapt to all of a sudden, a bunch of people wanted coffee at that time too. So it worked out good. But, we also had our wholesalers that cut back a little bit too. Some of them just kept going. So it wasn't really, I can't really say like we've slowed down. We've actually sped up. And that's pretty much what we've been doing. Today was a busy day. So, I mean, like, it just, you have to find, like, tomorrow I'm trying to make it a half a day to spend time with the kids. So, because I know, like, Saturdays, once the market starts, I got that. And then I always try to take, our Sunday, but I also have our Sunday orders I try to fulfill in the evening so I can get them out Monday morning. So, yeah, again, I go back to the whole thing of time, with your kids and stuff. So, anyways, I probably got sidetracked on that.
No, you're good, dude. That's good. You're like
Bring me back in, reel me back in. It's okay.
I go off on tangents all the time. We do have some listeners that continually listen to the podcast. So it's obviously not too. We might have a bunch of squirrel fans out there that listen to the podcast.
Maybe after tonight, who knows?
Yeah. It's a good time though when connecting with people over the same type of maybe I'm trying to find the word for it, but like the business philosophy.
Yeah.
Being able to take a bunch of good companies or being able to take a bunch of good people and connect them with people who want good coffee.
Yeah.
And the stories that people share, what were you're a pilot before you started popping coffee, right?
I did that for about 10 years. And I did that prior to, like, met my wife, got married, and I think your priorities change. And I really enjoy it. I don't really do it anymore. I still have some friends in the trade. So if we go up, I go up with them, but I still have my license, my CFI. So, I mean, I could technically still teach, but I'm just so out of it, when it comes to, there's always stuff, changing,
So where do we see Banyan in 6 months and a year from now? What are you looking at to do?
A lot of the stuff we're doing, I mean, we're still just trying to focus in Bradenton, Sarasota area. That's kind of always been. I always want to, just be loyal to that area. That's kind of where I believe my call is to it. I, I would love to have somebody, in another town, take care of that place, and there's enough coffee to go around.
There is.
So that's what's nice about the small batch stuff. And I'm a believer in I almost feel like there should be no excuse to have fresh coffee in your house every day if you have a supplier that is willing to do it. And that's kind of my principle of it, is how can we make it easy to get it in somebody's house? If I have to bring it to you, I mean, I won't pour it in the morning for you. I can't be at one place at one time, but I can definitely bring it to you. That's, at least in our area. And that's where the e-commerce came into play too, for the subscription. Now, shipping outside of the area also. So
That's awesome.
that's kind of, if you want to say 6 months, it's hard to say what is going to be in 6 months because we don't know a lot of things what's going on. So, but you know what, and I'm a big believer in goals. So set your goals high, and you can achieve it. Maybe at that point I'm at a big, maybe I have a bigger roaster, but I'm not in a hurry. I can, right now I'm getting by with what I got. It works. Might have to work a few more, more hours or more, more days. So, but to me, I don't want to say I have a 6 month plan, except for just kind of keeping it going. So I don't know. It's hard. It's so hard to tell with the everything going on.
Yeah, because 6 months ago you would have told me that I was going to have to work through a new business through a pandemic, to where it changed the dynamic of everything in the country. Definitely would have not thought about that. Where else can they find you locally there in your town?
Well, a lot of times, like if you go on our website, we have locations, and some of those locations aren't open. So, but a lot of them are on our website, and we're actually opening up a few others. That's why I don't like to announce anything, because
Okay.
I like stuff set in stone. Like we're getting a new, I guess you want to call it a facelift on our bags. We're graduating now. We've got out. I mean, we're still going to do the craft bag. I actually like that style,
I do too.
but we'll be graduating from that a little bit. So, but little things like that. I've been focusing also a lot more on the e-commerce side, and growing that. Because I mean, before even all this is kind of one of my passions, is to go more e-commerce at the same time too. You can do social media, but I mean, really, I'm a pretty, I don't say the word. I'm not really I don't say I'm a social person, because I'll talk your ear off once I get to know you.
Right.
But I'm not really like a Facebook as much. That's just not my thing. So I guess, yeah, I would say when it comes to like our product, I mean, we're mostly focused in the Bradenton, Sarasota area. Not saying I won't ever let somebody try it from another, state or anything like that. So I'm always open for it. That's why I also joined, the Roasters Marketplace, just to get, everything out there. And it's weird, just ever since probably, I would say 6 months ago, that's when everything online outside of Bradenton, Sarasota took off.
That's awesome.
On the e-commerce side. I don't like to say local stuff is e-commerce, even though it is, because we get a lot of orders online that way. Some people just call me directly or email me. So that is another way. So I don't really call the e-commerce really the locals. It's more e-commerce, out of state or more regional. So that's.
Well, besides Roasters Marketplace, they can find you at Banyan Coffee. .com? Is that what
Yeah, BanyanCoffeeCompany.com. Some people have my number. They just text me. I always tell them, hey, just go on the website. Just go on the website. It's so much easier. Just do it that way. It goes right to my email. It goes right into my login stuff for my roasts. But I think they're just so used to the presence because you've reached them when we did like our farmers market. Like we reached so many people that way, just talking to them and educating them that way. I give out free samples for them to try. Like, hey, try this one. If you don't like this one, what about this one?
Yeah,
you usually will find it. And that's what's great about your platform is if you don't like that one, hey, jump to this next one because you might like that one. And that's what I've always believed in. Regardless if you take cream or sugar in your coffee, I don't judge anybody by what they make their coffee. My wife does I call them fancy drinks, or a milkshake, with a little coffee.
Yeah,
but that's what she likes.
And you know what? I always think it's funny that you get the anti cream and sugar stigma so much, but then there's that whole espresso or the whole latte cult.
Yeah.
Now you're adding coffee to milk. I mean, you're not adding. It's a whole different thing. But Josh, I know it's getting late there for you. It's almost 9 o'clock in Florida. I know you got those kids and the wife inside.
They're in bed by now.
Hopefully. So thanks for joining me tonight, man. I really appreciate it. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to exit out and have you in the green room, and I'll hit you up here in just a second.
Okay, I'll hang tight.
All right. All right, everybody listening out there, watching on YouTube, listening on our podcast later on, really appreciate you tuning in. If you like the podcast, leave us a review. Please let us know how we did in the comments on YouTube or Facebook. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel and you're watching us on Facebook, you can find us on YouTube. Please subscribe, hit the bell, get notified. It means a whole lot to us here on how far our message about the Common Grounds and Roasters Marketplace gets to everybody. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Tune in next week again, 7 o'clock. We're going to be talking to Tim from Evansville Coffee Company again and see what amazing coffees that he's got coming in. Also, a few other projects that we've got in the works with Tim and his new bus adventure, which is quite interesting. So once again, thanks for tuning in to the Common Grounds podcast. You can find us at roastersmarketplace.com. And we're going to roll out to a little Dom Coors.